Hey, yo, what's good? It's your boy Derek Branch of SportsView360.com covering the New Orleans Saints. And then we're going to be breaking down what might be done, um, what might be done for one of the most crucial off seasons in recent memory for the New Orleans Saints. Um, 2024 season, as many of you already know, was nothing short of a roller coaster, filled with injuries, inconsistencies, ultimately a major shakeup with Dennis Allen being fired after the Carolina game. Now with a new head coach on the way, most likely going to be Kellen Moore, barring a significant setback. Um, the Saints also got some serious salary cap decisions to make. Where does this team go from here? So let's just dive into the 2025 offseason preview for the Saints. We can talk about the key insights, roster decisions, and the challenges ahead. So, shouts out to Pro Football Network for providing me with this information. So, what went wrong with this team, right? What went wrong with the Saints? Um, we look back at how it all played out. The Saints ended the season with, they had playoff aspirations, but that all quickly went away after the injuries started to pile up. Derek Carr went out, Chris Olave, Eric McCoy, Rashid Shaheed, Taysom Hill, even Alvin Kamara all missed significant time. By mid-season, Saints had to make a tough call. So, went on that 7-game losing streak that pretty much led to the firing of Dennis Allen. So after, failing to get the team back on track, that occurred. Then Darren Rizzi stepped in as interim head coach. But by that time, the damage was already done. You know, he did got the Saints back on track to a certain extent, but could not beat the teams, three playoff teams in the Los Angeles Rams, the Green Bay Packers, and the Washington Commanders. But overall, the Saints finished the season with a 5-12 record. So that's where the Saints are at right now. All right. So let's look into the offensive and defensive struggles for the Saints. All right. So according to Pro Football Network, right, the Saints were one of only three teams in the league to score 40 points in back-to-back weeks. Right. Right up there with the Detroit Lions and the Buffalo Bills. That sounds great, though. That sounds great, but there's more to it. The Saints were also one of the three teams that failed to score 20 points in six consecutive games. So that's how inconsistent the Saints was this season. It was that bad. Derek Carr, despite everything, managed to finish 11 in Pro Football Network's QB grade system, ranking ahead of quarterbacks like Sam Darnold and Jordan Love. But his performance, wasn't enough to mask the offense that ranked 22nd in overall efficiency. And let's not forget about the struggles on the offensive line. 23rd in the league in performance for that unit. So that's how bad it was. Despite Derek Carr's quote good year, his good tape he had on display. On the defensive side, it doesn't get any better. New Orleans was elite against deep passes, ranking fourth in the NFL, fourth in the NFL. But on short to intermediate throws, they're also second worst, ranking 31st in the NFL. So that's a major problem right there. And it explains why the defense constantly, gave up key drives in late games. All right. So let's look at the salary cap, you know, fiasco. Who stays, who goes, right? So Let's look at that. All right. So as of now, New Orleans is at a $52.3 million in cap space. A negative 52.3 million in cap space right now. See that? Negative 52.3 million. Right? Big Loomis will have some decisions to make. No, not without question. We know he's gonna get the cap under control, but he still got some big moves to make, including roster cuts and restructures. So let's look at some potential cap casualties. Right? You got you got Sergio Wilson, you got Derek Carr, who is a right now is a $51.4 million cap in 2025. A post first a post first cut could save 30 million, but the dead cap will be brutal. It will be brutal. There's no other way to put it. Taysom Hill, cut Taysom Hill post June 1st saves about 10 million. But could the Saints really gonna move on from Taysom Hill? Serge Wilson, you cut him, that saves him with it saved the Saints 2.4 million. Jamal Williams, releasing him could save the Saints 1.59 million. You know what I'm saying? So let's get the free agents right here. Up top, we got key free agents are Lucas Patrick, Chase Young, Peyton Turner, Paulson Adebo, and Will Harris. There's already been some reports out there from Jeremy Fowler that Chase Young would like to come back to the team, but we'll see how that all play out. Adebo is another name out there that could possibly, I think, will generate some interest from other teams, despite that injury that occurred. Peyton Turner, I don't think he's gonna get a lot of offers out there, but he should be affordable to come back. See how everything play out. Will Harris is another name out there. I like the way he performed with the team. Lucas Patrick, maybe a may. I don't know. I'm not so sure about that, but we'll see how it all come out, play out. Let's look at the potential restructure candidates. Right, Cam Jordan, a restructure could free up over 8.99 million. Demar Davis restructuring his deal could save up to 5.6 million in cap space. Carl Granderson, a restructure could save up to 5.2 million in cap relief. Derek Carr's numbers are right here. Could save up to $30 million with a conventional reconstruction, but his cap number for 2026 is already $61 million, and there is 17 million in dead money when the contract voids in 2027. So these are other players, the other names on the list that could get restructured this upcoming season. Tyrann Mathieu, Eric McCoy, and Demario Davis. Well, I just mentioned Demario Davis. All right. So in regards to the key free agents, um, Chase Young, like I said, Chase Young, Paulson Debo, Tate, Payne Turner, all set to hit the market. On the offensive side, we got Lucas Patrick, we got Will Harris. So it'll be interesting to see how the Saints go about in that situation. Um, I don't see them guys outside of Chase Young and Paulson Debo. I don't see those other free agents I mentioned commanding top dollar with this from other teams. You also got Marquez Valdez Scanning out there, who could possibly receive some interest from other teams, some contenders out there that wouldn't mind paying him. He won't get top 10 receiver money, but he might get a nice little deal to join another team. But we'll see how that all play out. So let's look at what the Saints need to prioritize heading 2020 2025, right? What do they need to prioritize? Right, needs and all that. Edge rusher, offensive line, wide receiver, quarterback. See the needs right here, according to Pro Football Network. Edge, guard, center, wide receiver, running back, quarterback. I agree. And they need upgrades in all this. Major upgrades. I don't blame them. Edge, you need somebody on that edge that can dominate the game. Guard, you need another guard. Because Eric McCoy, it's like Eric McCoy is like a top 10 guard in the league right now. Top 7, top 10 when he's healthy. But when he's out, you can see the difference in the team. Wide receiver, we already know about Chris Olave's concussions. We're not so sure if we know that Rashid Shaheed's not really a number one option on this team. More of a two, maybe even a three. So they need to upgrade at wide receiver, running back. Kendrick Miller's proven not to be reliable in this offense. Quarterback, we already know about Derek Carr. He can win. You can win games with Derek Carr, but it won't be because of Derek Carr. It'll be because of everything that's surrounding Derek Carr. And I'm not so sure the Saints have all of the needed pieces to win a lot of games with Derek Carr. So we'll see how that all play out when it once they fix this roster with address the roster needs with new head coach Kellen Moore. All right. So let's look at the draft targets. Right. You got Mason Graham, Tetiara, McMillan, they call him T Mac, Nick Gordon, Edge, Texas A&M, Malachi Starks, out of Georgia, and these are all solid choices, solid picks to align with the New Orleans Saints. Because each of these players have something, have a skill set that the Saints greatly need. They need a wide receiver. They need a number one, another option outside of Chris Olave to get the football in the passing game. Edge guys, they need those. Cam Jordan's not getting any younger. They need somebody to take that pressure off of Carl Granderson. And if you bring back Chase Young, I think that would be great at a reasonable price. But you still need to bring another young guy to be on that defensive line. Mason Graham, you need somebody that can come in and put pressure on those opposing offensive linemen, collapse those pockets, bring that type of heat to the run game, stop those running backs because that's an area where the Saints have fallen off greatly because there was a stretch where New Orleans was one of the best teams against the run. That's no longer the case. Hasn't been that way since I would say since Dennis Allen had taken over. So that would be any five of these players on this list would be greatly needed. They could use another safety. They can use. They really need an edge. To me, they need somebody that can be dominant on the defensive line, and somebody that can be dominant on the offensive line. They need to address both lines, in my opinion. And I wouldn't even have an issue with them taking a safety. And right now, from what I've read, Malachi Starks is a player that can go in the top 10 or even the top 5. That's how good they believe he is. So I won't have an issue with taking a player like a Malachi Starks at number 9. And I also won't be opposed to trading out of that 10 spot at the 9th spot. I won't be opposed to it. And trading out of that spot and getting more picks and add more players to this team because said this in the past. This team needs an influx of young talent, of young, reliable talent that are on cheap rookie deals. And a part of that young, reliable talent needs to be a quarterback, you know? So there's that. So if the Saints nail this draft, they can fill these critical roles without breaking the bank, you know? So I want to talk about Final thoughts on this offseason preview is, can the Saints contend in 2025? Um, to me, it depends on what they address in the offseason. It depends on how well they knock this draft out in the park, knock the draft out. Because if you want to get back to the levels of where you were really good, um, from 2017 to 2020, you're gonna need a 2017 draft. You're gonna need that. You're gonna need players on a rookie deal, on cheap rookie deals. You're gonna need impact players in your first round pick, your second round pick, your third round pick, and at least your fourth round pick. You got two. You got two picks in the third round. Then you got multiple picks, and I believe the fourth round as well. So you need those players to produce, and maybe you can get something out of Derek Carr. You just might, But fixing the salary cap stuff is going to be step two. Step two is fixing the salary cap. Step one, like I said, is the draft and the head coach. Hopefully, this Kellen Moore stuff is a done deal. They can't really announce nothing until after the conclusion of the Super Bowl. So we'll see how it all play out. But if Mickey Loomis play his cards right, the Saints could quickly turn this around and compete for the NFC South. Because, like I've said, there's no juggernauts in the NFC South, man. On this for the past 4 years. It's been like this since Drew Brees retired. There's not been a dominant team in the NFC South. And the results in the playoffs for the NFC South team showed you that with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, but if they get this stuff wrong, this rebuild, this reboot, whatever you want to call it, retool, could go on for a decade plus. Because right now we're in 4 years. 4 years since the Saints have been to the playoffs. We got 6 more to go, and we'll hit a decade plus of no playoff appearances. So that's why it's crucial that they get this right with the head coach Kellen Moore, quarterback situation, salary cap mess get figured out, and a really good draft. Follow with another really good draft next year. But it all starts with this year's draft as a starting point. All right. So here are also the cut candidates: Cedric Wilson, Taysom Hill, and Derek Carr. Jamal Williams. We already talked about this, but these are the players that could potentially get cut post June 1st or pre June 1st. So we'll see how it all play out, man. But that's all I have for y'all for right now, man. Give me a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Let me know how you feel. What are your thoughts on the Saints 2025 offseason? What areas do you want them to address? And also check out sportsview360.com/Saints for latest content on the Warren Saints organization. Have a blessed day. Peace. I'm out. Who that?